right, hi everyone. We're going to talk about political parties today. So this is a really important standard for the EOC. We're looking at between 2 to 4 questions. So that's anywhere from 5 to 10% ish of your EOC. So this is a really important topic. We'll talk about what is a political party, what are the different political parties, and then what are the beliefs of those political parties. All right. So here we have the two main political parties. We do live, my PowerPoint's a little outdated. This is from the 2012 election, so we're 8 years behind here. But we have the Republicans represented by the elephant. We have the Democrats represented by the donkey. We do live in a two-party system, which means two political parties kind of dominate our political party, our government, which are Republicans and Democrats. But we do have things called third parties, which are smaller parties. We need to know some of their beliefs, like the Socialist Party, the Libertarian Party, and the Communist Party. So what is the definition of a political party? So if you're taking notes, you would want to put this on the left. You would want to put this on the right. A political party is a group of people who share the same views about government and how government should be used in society. So that's what a political party is. It has millions of people in it, and they have similar views on government, the purpose of government, and how government should be used in society. Political parties is not in the Constitution. Political parties go all the way back to the Federalists and Anti-Federalists, which we will talk about in a couple weeks. But that's what a political party is. So if you're taking notes on that, go ahead and pause it, write this down. So nothing you have to take notes on here. This is kind of a cool picture, but this just shows what the major political parties are throughout our history. So you can see from like 1864, the two parties have been Democrats and Republicans. And it shows which president won each one. A little outdated because President Trump's not on here on the Republican, but there have been other political parties throughout our history here. This is the Whig Party. This is the National Republican Party. This is the Democratic Republican Party. This is the Federalist Party. So there have been different political parties throughout our history, but it's been the Democrats and Republicans since 1868. The yellow there is represented by third parties. And you can see there's some years where third parties get a big portion of the vote, but most years third parties, the orange there, get very little portion of the vote. So we do have a two-party system. So I would like you to write this definition down, actually. So write down two-party system on the left. And then on the right, you would just write down throughout U.S. history, two political parties have dominated. The only time we haven't had two political parties in our history, so you'd want to write this down, is George Washington. George Washington famously did not believe in political parties. He thought they would lead to divisiveness and resentment between Americans. So clearly George Washington was wrong there. But he did not believe in political parties, so he was his own party. There weren't political parties. But after Washington, the two-party system formed. You can see two parties throughout our whole history. Now, it is not like this around the world. Around the world, there are democracies that have many parties, 3, 4, 5, 6 parties, and they're all very popular. But in the United States, we have a two-party system where only two parties have really dominated. Like I said, since 1860, the two parties have been Republicans and Democrats. So here's some famous Democratic presidents: FDR, John F. Kennedy, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. Here's some famous Republican presidents: Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan. President Trump currently is a Republican. Okay. So what do political parties do? You definitely need to write this down on the left, and then on the right-hand side, you would write all of this down. So what do political parties do? They educate the people about issues. What are the important issues? What are the issues on the ballots? What do political parties believe in? Another thing political parties do that's really important is they nominate candidates. And so instead of choosing from hundreds of people, the Democrats will choose their best candidate for president or Senate or governor, and the Republicans will choose their best candidate. And so they choose candidates to run for office. They hold primary elections to help them choose candidates. They raise money. I read an article the other day that there's going to be $12 billion spent on the presidential election this year. And so Democratic Party and the Republican Party will raise money and spend that to help their party win the election. They help legislators pass laws that favor their beliefs. So the Democratic Party will try and pass laws that benefit Democratic beliefs. Likewise with Republicans. And they also write the party platform. A party platform is a document that lists all the beliefs of that political party. So what do political parties do? They educate people on issues that are important. They nominate candidates, raise money for the candidates, and try and get those candidates elected. Once those candidates are elected for a political party, they try and get those candidates to pass. Laws that favor their party's beliefs. So make sure, pause it at this point, make sure you write those down. Okay, this is what's really important is you need to know the core beliefs of the Republican and the Democratic Party. So you're going to want to write down Republican core beliefs on the left, and then you're going to want to list these on the right. So these are generalizations of the beliefs. Not every Republican believes every one of these, but these are their general beliefs. So the first one is less government interference. The idea that the best government is the government that governs the least. That government shouldn't do very much. Let people and private business handle things. So there should be very little government intervention. Let the states and private business and people handle things. They also believe in lower taxes, that everyone's taxes, even millionaires, billionaires, everyone's taxes should be lower, and that will help business. And as businesses are doing well, people will have jobs, the economy will do well, and people will do well. Another thing they believe is less government regulation. A government regulation is a rule. So maybe the government has a regulation on how much pollution a business can regulate. Republicans would believe that government should have less regulations. They should not tell private sector corporations or companies or individuals what they should do. So there should be less government regulation. And then Republicans are called conservatives or right-wing or Republicans. And they are represented by the elephant here. But again, it kind of comes down to less taxes, less government interference, less government regulations. People know what to do. People do what's best. And if you let people control, then that will be better. You see this picture here of some Republican beliefs. So get government off our backs, small government, lower taxes. They are a lot for family or religious rights. So generally more conservative social beliefs when it comes to things like gay marriage and things like that. But again, government's bad, less government. Again, if you lower taxes, people will spend more, the economy will do better, less government. Okay, so now what are the Democratic core beliefs? So you'd write this down on the left, and then you'd write this down on the right. So Democrats are represented by the donkey here. They are called liberals or left. So they believe in more government, that we need big government to provide services, to provide equal opportunities to women and minorities and people who are economically disadvantaged or poor, that we need government programs to help them. And to pay for those government programs, they generally believe in higher taxes. So let's raise the taxes on the really wealthy so we can provide health care to poor people or free college to poor people. And they would also believe in more regulations, telling businesses what they can do to help protect the environment, telling businesses what they can do to help protect people from being taken advantage of. So again, it kind of comes down to more government, higher taxes, more government services to help women and minorities and people who are disadvantaged, help to give them an equal opportunity, and more regulations to protect the environment and against the abuses of business. So that's kind of the basic core beliefs of both of the parties. So Democratic core beliefs: reform healthcare industry. Trying to wait for this to go away here. Federal loans for college, food stamps for the poor, health care for those that don't have it. Some of those core beliefs. All right, so let's look at some of the core beliefs here. Democrats believe in equal rights and opportunity for working and lower class. Republicans would say although they're for that, they would say government shouldn't do that for people, that people should be self-reliant and do that for themselves, whereas government would want programs to help get equal opportunities and help for the lower class and poor people. Democrats here: environmental protection over big business. Stop big businesses from polluting and hurting the environment. And Republicans are very pro-business, so they wouldn't want government interference that would cost businesses money or anything like that. This one says government assistance, even if it means raising taxes to provide health care and food stamps and college. And this one, and Republicans just believe in lower taxes, not providing those services. People should provide those services for themselves. Democrats are for civil liberties and protection for the government and generally for more gun control. Republicans are for strong supports of less gun control, less rules on gun. So those are some core beliefs explained as well. So this is kind of a picture that represents Democrat government aid application, meaning having government programs to help people in need. And then Republican self-reliance, the story from the Bible that you shouldn't give someone a fish, but teach them to fish, and then they can provide food for themselves, that people can do things for themselves. All right, so here's a good example of the difference between Democrats and Republicans. An oil company wants to build an oil pipeline from Canada down to the Gulf of Mexico. Republicans are for that. They're not as worried about the environment. This is good for business. It'll create jobs. It'll help produce oil. This is a good thing. Democrats think it's a bad thing because generally Democrats are against oil usage because of fossil fuels and global warming. This will hurt the environment. This is needs to be heavy regulated. This could be dangerous to water. So Democrats are kind of against this. That shows more regulation, less pro-business. Republicans would be for it, which shows kind of more pro-business and less regulation. We look at the Affordable Health Care Act. Democrats said too many people don't have health insurance. Insurance is too expensive. This is very bad. So we should create a big government program that provides health care to those that can't afford it. Republicans say this is bad. Republicans are for less government, and they don't like big government programs, and that this is people should work hard and pay for their own insurance. And so there you see kind of more government, big government, raise taxes, provide services for those in need. Republicans, again, less government, less taxes. People can provide for themselves. So there are third parties in this country, and their job is to really influence the big parties. They want their ideas and concerns to be picked up by the big people, but there are third parties that you need to know. So the Green Party, not one you necessarily need to know. It tries to push through policies to help the environment. That green is another word for pro-environment. So less fossil fuels, more pro-air, pro-sun, less pollution. Not necessarily one of the parties you need to know, but you do need to know the Libertarian Party, very important. The Libertarian Party wants extremely limited government interference. And that way it is more Republican leaning because less government, but they also have some democratic beliefs in some social issues, but they want government to stay out of people's lives altogether. Don't tax them. Don't come up with rules. Don't come up with regulations. Don't tell people what to do, that the only purpose of government is to protect your life, liberty, and property. And besides that, government should stay out of people's lives. They want low taxes. They want government to not tell people what to do. And so they're a very free libertarian society. So a good picture here. It says, and you make sure you write this down in your notes. It says Democrats want to control your money, but you can control your actions. Republicans want you to control your action. We want to control your actions, but you can control your money. Libertarians say we trust you to make your own decisions. We want you to control your money and your actions. What this means is Democrats want to control your money because they want higher taxes, but you can control your actions, more social freedom. Republicans, we want to control your actions, tell you what you could do with your body or, what activities you can do, but you can control your money because they're for lower taxes. Libertarians are for less everything. So they would be pro gay marriage. People can decide on their own. They would be pro legalization of drugs. People can decide on their own. They'd be pro guns. People can decide on their own. They would be low taxes. Let people do and have complete freedom. So some beliefs in libertarian are democratic, some are Republican, but again, you need to know extremely limited government. Government should not have any role in your life except that basically have a military and protect you. Okay, this is another party you need to know. This is the Socialist Party. Socialists want more government welfare to help citizens, and they want to offer things like free college and health care. It's kind of a Republican or a Democratic leaning idea in that we want high taxes and we actually want government to control some sectors of society. So we want like government run healthcare, government run education, government run energy. And so government runs those things with higher taxes and they provide free services to people. So those are the main political parties in this country. You need to know the beliefs of Republican and Democrats and also those third parties, the Libertarian Party and Socialist Party. All right, we'll be going over that and reviewing it. And my notes are also attached to this assignment. Okay, let me figure out how to exit here.